Hello, welcome to Kabbalah Explained Simply. Today we're going to be talking about the 10 Sefirot, the Tree of Life, the possibility of an 11th Sefira, or that there may only be 9 Sefirot, as mentioned in an ancient book, which we'll discuss right now. I'm your host, Gianni, and I'm happy to be with you all. Be sure to write in where you're from, write in any questions that you have, and we're going to have an exciting session today. The wisdom of Kabbalah, let's start from the top. What is its purpose? Everyone asks deep down in some way, what is the meaning of my life? Usually it's from a young age, and generally life doesn't give us answers to this question. Thus, there is a wisdom by which we can learn the secrets of nature, nature's hidden secrets that pertain to us that we are supposed to discover. Actually, our goal in life, all of the rest of it, the rest of life, is just for us to sort through all this other stuff and discover the secrets of life, the meaning of life. And since we're going to talk about the Sefirot today, we need to understand that these are the secrets of reality that exist for everyone to uncover. They're not like some side imaginary endeavor, some intellectual endeavor or theoretical thing. Rather, they are realities that are waiting for us to discover, and we should do so with the intention that through them we can reveal the Creator. We can reveal the one who created our reality, who's creating our life, and that's the purpose of these Sefirot or Sefirot, is that specifically through these templates, these stencils, we discover the Creator. And from our state, from this state that we're in right now of our lives, the only way that we could reveal the Creator is exactly through these specific templates that people discovered throughout history, in different places, in different times, without talking to each other even, but they discovered this same template of reality that exists, that's there, and that any person can discover. So let's go to the great Kabbalist Bala Sulam for an overview of why should we even talk about this Sefirot. What's the point of talking about something? Let's face it, it's kind of weird. It's something we don't have in our lives, and it's something alien. So why should we even study this? Here's what Bala Sulam says. Why did the Kabbalists obligate each person to study the wisdom of Kabbalah? Indeed, there is a great thing in it, worthy of being publicized. There is a wonderful, invaluable remedy to those who engage in the wisdom of Kabbalah, although they do not understand what they are learning. Through the yearning and the great desire to understand, so that's how you do it, it's through the yearning, they awaken upon themselves the lights that surround their souls. So there's something, it's not like sunlight or a lamp, but there's something that Kabbalists call light that I'm swimming in right now, and that I can attract to myself, and it apparently works on me. This means that every person is guaranteed to finally attain all the wonderful attainments that the Creator had contemplated in the thought of creation. So there are spiritual degrees that open up that I should discover, all the way up to the point where the Creator fills this reality, is revealed completely in this reality as clearly as though you're sitting across from a friend and having lunch. In this way, you should be able to get to know the upper force. And this is, for what purpose? To delight every creature. That's why we exist, is only for delighting the creature and not to teach us lessons through harsh methods or have us restrict ourselves or go through punishment or hardship or hard times. No, the purpose of us being here is to delight the creatures. That's why the Creator created us. Now, of course, this brings up many questions because we're not feeling that. And one, the Kabbalist Bala Sulam goes on, one who has not been awarded in this life, don't worry, he will be granted in the next life, etc., until one is awarded contemplating his thought, the Creator's thought, which he had planned for him. And while one has not attained perfection, absolute perfection, meaning all of my desires, even those that I have yet to reveal, they'll all be filled in the perfect, corrected, beneficial, pleasant, beautiful way. But while I have not attained perfection, the lights, and light means pleasure, simply. The lights that are destined to reach him are considered surrounding lights. That means they stand ready for him, but are waiting for him to purify his vessels of reception, at which time these lights will clothe the able vessels. All right, that's what Bala Sulam says here. And one more thing. Hence, even when he does not have the vessels, because just like I enjoyed in my vessel here, this coffee, I also need a vessel to enjoy sex or to enjoy wine or going on a run, going on a hike. I need a vessel that's prepared to enjoy that and is ready to enjoy it. So also for all of the additional things that are planned for us, the good things, we need vessels. So while I do not have the vessels, when you engage in this wisdom, Kabbalah, meaning the names of the lights and vessels related to one's soul, they immediately shine upon you to a certain extent. However, they shine without clothing the interior of your soul for lack of able vessels to receive them. Yet the illumination one receives time after time during the engagement brings us much closer to achieving perfection. Yet there is a strict condition during this engagement in the wisdom, to not materialize the matters with imaginary and corporeal issues. So when we talk about this, the Sefirot, it's even better that we don't know the Hebrew. If you know Hebrew, great, but it's not really appropriate, or the best, I should say, to translate each of the Sefirot so that I know that Keter is crown, Hochma is wisdom, Bina is understanding. It really doesn't give me anything that would be true to the attainment of these things that's really necessary for that attainment. And moreover, those things are things that I think I already have in my life. And when we approach this study, the study of the Sefirot, it's good to have a feeling that I don't have these, that I don't have any understanding of them. Why? There is a strict condition during this engagement to not materialize the matters with imaginary and corporeal issues. This is because they breach. You should not make a graven image nor any manner of likeness. Meaning don't compare anything in the wisdom of Kabbalah to something you have in your psychology, your mind, your heart, your life. In that event, one is rather harmed instead of receiving benefit. Therefore, our sages cautioned to study the wisdom only from a great Kabbalist and other such cautions. Okay, now we change gears somewhat and we go to this book called the Sefer Yetzirah, the book of creation. This is the whole question on which this particular podcast is based. So, Eser Sefirot Blima, Eser Velo Tesha, Eser Velo Achat Esrei. So, 10 Sefirot from absence or from nothingness, 10 and not 9, 10 and not 11. So when I first read this, I think this was one of the first books I came to in the wisdom of Kabbalah. I just assumed it was like an old-timey way of writing and over-explaining. But this actually belies the whole secret to how we unlock these Sefirot. And it's not that they were just being overly precise in saying that there's exactly 10 Sefirot and not 9 and not 11, but rather 9 or 11 Sefirot are mistakes that I could make when I'm attaining the Sefirot. How could I make a mistake? Okay, we'll get to that, but there is such a possibility. And that's why he writes it there. That's why this ancient Kabbalist, who tradition has it was Abraham, Abraham from the Torah, from the Bible, and this is how he wrote to us. Okay, what I'm going to do now is explain the Sefirot. I'm going to try to explain each one so that we can understand or get a feel for them to some extent. And I'm going to try to do it in as emotional a way as possible and use words that we're all familiar with, even though this is an upper reality that really doesn't bear correspondence to our life at all. It's the spiritual world. It's a foreign dimension to what we feel. But I'll try to do it by way of analogy and so on, so that we can get a feel for what these are and maybe where we are in relation to these, because we're not in them yet, that's for sure. Okay, so here's the translations. Keter, Hochma, Bina, Hesed, Gevurah, Tiferet, Netzach, Hod, Yesod, and Malchut. These are the 10 Sefirot. And then in addition, there's this so-called 11th Sefira, that's singular for Sefirot, called Da'at. And this would be the 11th Sefira, if there was one. The 11th Sefira that Abraham wrote about when he says, don't think that there are 11 Sefirot, there's only 10. Don't think that there are 9, there's exactly 10. Okay, but we'll talk about it. So it turns out that there's not 11, but kind of. Okay, let's see. So we start with Keter. Keter is the thought of creation. And we're talking about, first of all, we're talking about how the Sefirot, this template through which we attain the Creator, how these emanate down from above, from the world of Ein Sof. And we're talking about a reality that is pre-matter, pre-time, space, pre-us, pre the Big Bang. So Keter is the thought. And in this thought is very simply the thought of the Creator. I want to do good. I need something to do good to, someone to do good to. And therefore, I need a creature. This is done not out of the way we usually do things, from a need, from a desire. I really want like some wine. No, it's done from the quality of bestowal, who wants to give endlessly, wants to delight the one that would be created. Keter gives rise to Hochma and to Bina as a result of this desire, not this desire, but this quality of bestowal and the thought to do good. So to do good means to give the best that can ever be, the best of the best. And in this thought is created these next Sefirot, Hochma and Bina. Let's start with Hochma. Hochma is the realization of the thought of creation. So if you want someone to enjoy something, a great chef will, prepare, first of all, some salty or piquant, sour kind of tapas at the beginning of the meal, and maybe some dry wine or a cocktail, some fizzy drink. These things are to evoke a desire, because with a desire, and we know this from every pleasure in life, the greater the desire, the better the food tastes, the better the experience of that pleasure is. That's from our life. Here is the creation of the first desire to receive, a desire to receive pleasure. This is the essence of creation. This is what stands back of all of the animals, the people, all of the planets, the universe. Behind it, the essential matter behind it. It's not radio waves or something like that. No, it's desire. In this desire to receive, though, there ends up being a bit of a problem, which is that at the end of it, when it's filled up with all of the delights of the creation, the ones we know about, the ones we don't know about, it's filled with all of them. But it feels them sort of in a way of you're in water and you're surrounded by water, so much so that you don't know that you're in water. So I'm filled with these pleasures. I'm filled with this goodness, so much so that it's as if I almost don't know that I'm being filled with goodness. That's just the way it is. Like someone who's born in a castle and they have the finest foods and the finest chefs preparing and the symphony playing for them all the time. So that's how life is. And it's not for like some poor person that, was granted nobility and became a prince. So it's a state of being completely filled with the goodness, but with a sort of lack of awareness of how perfect is the state that we're actually in here. Moreover, there's something else in Hochma, in this state of Hochma. In the end of it, there's the consciousness, there's a little prick of awareness that I'm not just in the king's palace. I'm not just in a palace. I'm in the king's palace. There's someone from whom all of this goodness is coming. And this awakens certain problems within this desire. And so the next phase here, and there's a relationship between Hochma and Bina. I'll tell you up front, there's a relationship between all the Sefirot. We can give kind of this linear progression, but the truth is they're all interconnected. So let's say that to begin with. But Hochma, we can say, gives rise to this other quality called Bina, which is, okay, it's translated as understanding, but really it's the quality of bestowal. It's the desire that arises in the created being to become similar to the one that created them, to become similar to the creator. How is that possible? Well, Bina determines, this quality determines that it's possible by not receiving. So if Hochma received all of the light, it was the spoiled prince in the king's palace. Bina decides, I don't need anything. I'll go outside of the palace walls and I'll live in the forest. I won't even bring my shirt. I'll live out there with nothing and I don't need anything. Why? Because in this, I can become at least not opposite to the quality of the creator, to the quality of the giver. Okay, these two, Hochma and Bina, they give rise to the Sefira of Da'at. It's translated as comprehension or knowledge, but that's not really important. And Da'at is, it's the hardest to explain because it has to do with us. So I'm actually going to leave it till later. But it is the connection between Hochma and Bina, which are the main forces of creation. So behind creation, like in a computer, there's zeros and ones. So behind creation exist these two forces, reception and bestowal. We're essentially the quality of reception. And there's this other force, which is the quality of Bina, which is what we just described, this Sefira of Bina, which is the quality that wants to become like the creator. Okay, these Sefirot are all above matter. They are completely above matter. This quality of Da'at gives rise to Hesed and Gevurah. Hesed and Gevurah give rise to Tiferet. Tiferet gives rise to Netzach and Hod, which give rise to Yesod, and finally that brings us to Malchut. Okay, those are all the Sefirot and their relationships, and there's plenty of more relationships between them. Let's go back to this little square right here. So Hesed is actually like Keter. It's similar to this quality of Keter, but it's when the created being wants to become like the creator, and from its qualities, which is complete reception, this is our main quality, the quality of reception. When from this quality, I want to become like the creator. Now, I can't become like the creator, really. To become like the creator, I have to start thinking how that's even possible. I'm not a tower of energy, of pleasure that I can bestow upon everyone. Even if I have billions of dollars, I don't know how to fill each and everyone's vessel. So I'm not a pleasure stream. And even if I was, there's a problem, which is that the creator is not a desire like us. We are the desire, the endless desire, and that's why we feel the way we feel at all times of the day, where if we will really scrutinize what we're doing and what we're going through, we'll see that we are seeking pleasures. Escaping pain is even more accurate, which is also part of our desire. Usually we don't even get to the pleasures so much as we're spending all of our time escaping pain, like a person plans for their retirement their entire life. When will I finally escape the pain of work? And my whole life is putting money in the bank for that. In this way, we're this desire. That's our essence. And the Creator isn't like that. He doesn't have a desire. He doesn't have a vessel. We receive all of our pleasures in our vessels. In my ear, I can hear a beautiful symphony. In my nose, I can smell a beautiful perfume. The Creator doesn't have this. The Creator is the quality of bestowal, only wants to give. So what can I give him? And think about it. What can I actually give the Creator? What does he want? Does he want me to live in this world and carry out some commandments, and we think that that will give him actual pleasure? So it's a conundrum, right? How to give the Creator pleasure. In these Sefirot, they're trying to figure that out. How do we give him pleasure? Well, in the quality of Bina, in this Sefira, we discover that it's not actually bestowal that I don't receive. Just imagine someone gives you all of your birthday presents and your response is, no, I don't need any of this. Take your presents back. Did I bestow to them? No, but I didn't receive. Why? I don't want to feel shame. I don't want to feel guilty. I don't want to feel like someone is greater than me, able to give to me, and I'm the one that needs such presence, such charity. So that's not exactly bestowal. And so in going from the state of Hochma, which is the prince in the king's palace, going from that state to Bina, which let's say is the prince outside the palace walls, sitting in the forest, being at peace with nature and saying, I don't even need my shirt. That's not really bestowing to the king, because he designed all of those pleasures for us to receive. And now we're not receiving any of them. So what to do? Well, these Sefirot are the answer to that question, seemingly, or an attempt to answer it. So these Sefirot, Hesed, Givurah, Tiferet, Netzach, Hod, are the created being's attempt to emulate the Creator, to become like the Creator. How do I do that? Like a child who gets his Superman lunch pail and puts on his dad's suit, and the sleeves are too long, and the lunch pail is not a briefcase, and I'm not really a stockbroker or whatever like my dad, but I kind of look like my dad. So that's what's happening in these Sefirot. And we're not making fun of it. It's something very serious. It's a very serious attempt to become like the Creator. How? Just copy him. So in Hesed, we're trying to be like the quality of Keter. Okay? In Givurah, we're trying to be like the quality of Hochma. In Tiferet, we're trying to be like the quality of Bina. And in Netzach, we're trying to be like that general Tiferet. And in Hod, we're emulating this quality of Malchut. Okay, this one here. So I understand that's confusing, because without feeling, obviously, we're, we understand everything through feeling. Even a person who's really good at mathematics, right? Guess what? They're just somebody who feels numbers. They have a certain emotion associated with every digit of pi, let's say. That's how we remember. A person remembers pi. There's special people who can remember like pi to many, many, many details. And that's because internally they see it as a whole world. They feel it as waves, as terrain, emotion, emotional excitement, pricks. And so similarly here, we learn about our world very well and easily because we go out and we feel the sun, right? We feel the rain. We don't just learn that there's a concept called rain. That would be very difficult. And that's why a lot of people, when they encounter mathematics, for example, they just can go over a formula again and again. But since there's no feeling with it, it's like you're reading a passage in a novel and you read it over and over and over again and it doesn't sink in. It's because there's no feeling yet and you're not interested. Okay. But here, these need to become felt in a way that you will hear the word yesod and you'll be brought to tears, really, like you just were shown the most compelling movie in the world. It's that emotional. Okay, so let's just remind why we study then. Why did the Kabbalists obligate each person to study the wisdom of Kabbalah? It's because through the yearning and the great desire to understand what they are learning, they awaken upon themselves the lights that surround their souls. So he says, even just by mentioning the names of these things that surround our soul, we awaken the lights, the surrounding light, as Kabbalists call it. And that's why we study, really to awaken these lights, that these are really things that exist in every person. I'm saying this loosely, in every person, because it's not in our body, it's in our soul. We don't know where our soul is, but it's the deepest, most inner part of us. Again, it's not inside here. It's not in our body. It's not in our mind or somewhere like that. It's behind the reality in the root of our soul. Exist these things, the Sefirot. And this is the template by which we rise from the state that we're in to becoming exactly similar to the Creator. So let's return to where we left off. We left off at talking about these four. These together are called the general Zeir Anpin. Why am I mentioning this? Not to confuse us, but Zeir Anpin is Aramaic for small face. So small face because it's like the Creator, but in a small way, meaning doing our best to become like Him in our matter that is really unlike Him, super unlike Him, the complete opposite of Him. Like if you have a stamp and you make an imprint in some clay and you get the opposite of the stamp, in this way, our matter is totally opposite to the Creator. So how are we going to become like Him if we are the opposite of Him? Well, this is our attempt. This thing called Zeir Anpin. So Hesed, Gevurah, Tiferet, Netzach, Hod. This, together with Yesod, is called Zeir Anpin, all of these together. And that's confusing, right? Because we're getting confused with the numbers. We have Keter here, Hochma, Bina, Tiferet, and Malchut. So what is Yesod? These four are like the salad ingredients. Let's say you have a tomato, an onion, some dressing, lettuce, croutons. Individually, those are what they are, and they're okay. Generally not too tasty. Dressing by itself, tomato by itself. But when you put them all together, something delicious. It's then called a salad. So Yesod is like the bowl for which these ingredients are collected. Okay? This finally brings us to Malchut. And Malchut is actually the goal of all of this. All of this is actually all about Malchut. Just like Kabbalists say that reality, all of reality, as crazy as this sound, is really about you. Who? You. Whoever you are. It turns out to be all about you, all for you. Kabbalists say that one should know that all of reality is created for him. Because if you, how could that be? There's so many people, but if you approach coming to the upper force, not that you keep this as a point of pride and you're just proud about it and you leave it at that, then it's actually incorrect and it's as egoistic as it sounds. But if you actually start with this as a way to attain the Creator, then it's correct. Then it will turn out to not be egoistic. It won't be a point of pride. It will be actually the correct entry into the Sefirot, into the changing of one's nature, which is a will to receive, into its opposite, that opposite imprint, actually changing it to become like the Creator. So Malchut is the purpose for which all of these Sefirot exist. They are an upper system, which isn't just connected in these arrows that I crudely drew here, but rather it's an omnidirectional, integral system, all working together in order to benefit Malchut. How to benefit? To mold it into an opposite form. Meaning, and what does that really mean? So it means that it will become similar to the Creator in that it will receive all of the goodness, but in order to bestow. Like that birthday boy who received all of the presents, but he's Elon Musk. He's a billionaire. He doesn't need these presents, but he receives them like a mother receiving a macaroni necklace from her baby. Beautiful. She loves it. She puts it on as if it's the most beautiful jewelry. We shall have this intention over every possible pleasure, and in this become similar to the Creator. So let's hear from another great Kabbalist. Well, okay, so I do want to answer, before we run out of time, I want to answer the question on which this whole thing was predicated. So because we said in the Sefer Yetzirah, the Kabbalists wrote that there's 10 Sefirot, don't think there's 11, don't think there's 9. You could somehow get confused and think there are 11 Sefirot or 9. How could that be? Well, between the Creator and the creature, from above to below, there are 9 Sefirot. There are 9 here if we don't count Malchut. And there's a way that you could be confused into doing that. So between us and the Creator, this is us, we, this vessel here, there are 9 Sefirot. When we want to go back the other way, when we want to go back to the Creator to attain all of the spiritual degrees that are awaiting us, there are 9 Sefirot between us and the Creator, again, obviously. What can happen here is that, so there should be between us and him a total of 10, but we could, let's say, think it's 9 because we're not counting Malchut, because Malchut actually is in a state right now of being totally shattered. It's broken. So if everything we talked about so far is this connected kli, this vessel, and here we talked about Keter, we talked about Hochma. Hochma was this matter of creation, this desire that was created. Well, all of that is shattered right now. And that's why we see our world in the way that we see it, in a not good, not beneficial, horrible things happening every day. If we look at the news, maybe also if we look at people around us, or if we look at our lives, not good. And that doesn't make sense if we look at the Keter, the thought of creation, which was to do good and only to do good. And he, the creator, it doesn't matter, didn't need all of this suffering, seemingly. Rather, he was willing to let us exist in the upper world in this state of Hochma. He was willing to let us exist endlessly. We could have just stayed like that and not concatenated down to this unpleasant, dark world. But something happened to make that happen. Okay, and it wasn't on behalf of the Creator. Like I said, he was fine just bestowing to us. So let's see what another great Kabbalist says here, Dr. Michael Laitman. And this is about this aspect of 10 and not 9, okay? There is no soul inside my animate body. My body does not contain the 10 Sefirot of the soul. I only have an initial point, and I have to build the 10 Sefirot from it. Okay? This point originated from inside my egoistic desires. When I make a connection with the other points in the heart, using my egoism, then my ego gives me the material, the desires, and the connection to other people. And this will create the structure of the 10 Sefirot inside me. Okay, so the 10 Sefirot, they were actually shattered. That's why we can't find them anywhere. And they're not inside me or in my reality. They shattered. And in order to feel them, I have to start connecting specifically with others who are like me, those who have this point in the heart. The point in the heart is the longing for spirituality. It's a feeling that there is a meaning of life and I need to discover it. And there are other people in whom this quality awakens. What is this quality? Well, it actually is a little spark that comes from the quality of Bina. Okay? So the quality of Malchut predominates in everybody in the world, and that's why the world looks the way it is. But in everyone, there is a mixture of this other quality, the quality of Bina. And when you start asking questions about the meaning of life, it's because this quality of Bina surfaces. If previously it was only governed and operated by the quality of Malchut, it surfaces. And if you want to start building your Sefirot, your 10 Sefirot, then you need to connect with others who have this point in the heart. Okay, so now let's go to the possibility that there are, I'm going to jump to this other Sefira called Da'at. So what is Da'at? It's not actually its own Sefira. It's not actually its own Sefira. How do we explain it? Okay, Da'at is the points in the heart that were shattered that contain this quality of the Sefira of Bina, and together You actually have to be together with a few other points like yourself, a few other points in the heart, people who long for spirituality. A virtual connection is okay too. Because before I wasn't thinking about them. I wasn't integrated in them. I wasn't making a connection with them. But if I'm together with them, even like you're saying hi to each other in the broadcast there, you're connecting with other people. We know today that social media, it's a pretty real connection to other people. People get angry, people get happy. So you can do this virtually as well, but you need to be connected to specifically those desires like yourself that long or at least want a little bit to attain spirituality, to attain the Creator. We have to connect to them a little bit. Now, what is the Sefira of Da'at, and why is it not its own Sefira? It's actually the quality of Malchut and Zeir Anpin that are united together, meaning these other points in the heart that are united together, and together they rise. I have the little diagram here. Together they rise to this place where Hochma and Bina, which are the main factors in creation, can pass to them the light. So it's actually the same Sefira. It's the same connection between these lower Sefirot that have risen up. And when they rise up, they're called Da'at, but it's not that they are their own Sefira. So that is why Abraham writes there that we need to be careful not to think that there are maybe 11 Sefirot, because there's a very real chance that when you start attaining these, not like right now where we're just philosophizing, but when you start attaining these, it's possible that a Kabbalist could think, oh, there's a Sefira there as well. But no, it's just Malchut and Zeir Anpin, that together they're called Zon, that they rise up and they receive a correction there so that they can be filled with the light. There's a lot more to that. There's a lot more to everything we've just talked about. There's a course on KabU called Blueprint of Creation if you want to learn more about it, that really goes into detail about everything that we discussed here and goes step by step and gives you a rundown of the whole plan of creation and really goes through the Sefirot and how it pertains to you. Also, if you join KabU, you get instant access to our Q&A, one-on-one Q&A session immediately following this broadcast. You'll get an email and we'll answer all of the questions that you have live there. And I want to go to this. Well, there are a few questions here. Actually, we could and do a lightning round real quick. So Jackie's asking, I guess, Da'at forbidden. She's asking if Da'at is forbidden. There is such a term called forbidden in Kabbalah, and what it actually means, because nothing is off limits, nothing is forbidden in that sense, but forbidden means impossible. Okay, so it's as simple as that. So if you've ever heard anything about the wisdom of Kabbalah and it being forbidden, it means that it's impossible. It's just not something we're going to be able to attain. So no, Da'at is not forbidden. An example of something that's forbidden is talking about the Creator himself, right? So it's called Atmuto, his essence. Instead of this, his essence, meaning what created the Keter, we don't talk about this. Why? Because you never attain it. As far as Kabbalists have discovered, they attain all of the Sefirot, 125 degrees, equivalence of form with the Creator. But like scientists who don't talk about things before the Big Bang, because we just don't know, and no one, no matter how intelligent, nobody ever attained it. So they're not going to embarrass themselves by trying to philosophize about what was before the Big Bang without having material evidence in hand. Kabbalists, too, only talk about that which they attained as surely as I'm holding this cup. And even more than that, that's actually not even attainment yet. There's something even more knowledgeable, sensing, and understanding than me holding this cup. And that's called the attainment of the Sefirot and the upper worlds. Another question from Awareness Daily. Is there a correlation between the Fool and the Tarot and Da'at? No. Does Da'at travel? So Da'at, you can say it travels, but it's better to say that it's the Sefirot called zone, which is the combination of Malchut and Bina, that exist in their place. They exist in their place down below, but then they rise up. They rise up, so they exist down here. And it's really just these. It's these Sefirot, and they rise up, and when they do, it's in truth, it doesn't include this Malchut. It includes the Yesod that is functioning as the Malchut. And so you have a complete system here. So just like we're broken right now with all of the other particles of reality that really belong to your soul, just as we're broken, if I could connect all of these to me internally so that I feel them like my own organs, like I feel my fist right now, I would feel someone in India, someone in Pakistan, so I would feel everyone like cells in my body. So here they become a complete system, and they rise up in this connected way where they're before these upper qualities called Hochma and Bina, and they have a request. They're not whole yet. They're asking, though, to become whole, to become what we call a Partsuf, which is a complete system, and to be filled with the light, because they want to bestow. They want to use their qualities to bestow to the Creator. All right, so, and to talk more about this quality of Da'at, let's go to this quote here. So we have this quote from Dr. Michael Laitman where he says, Sefira of Da'at is a completely new state. It emerges as a result of our demand. The whole secret is that it's us who have to call, demand, and respond to the Creator to the degree of our understanding and sensing Him. We should adhere to His thought and acknowledge His program of creation to the extent that we're willing to participate in it. This is Sefira of Da'at. The word Da'at includes Hochma, wisdom, and Bina, understanding, a vessel, and the light. We begin understanding, sensing, and realizing the processes that go on around us. We start becoming similar to the Creator. We accept His providence and His guidance of the whole system. With the help of the vessels of bestowal, we control the vessels of receiving. It's not only my own personal system, as it was before. It's our joint system. I include myself in Bina to the degree of my ability to exit myself and approach my neighbor, another. For me, my neighbor is Bina, to which I ascend in the state of Malchut. I look for Sefira of Da'at inside my connection with others, within the thoughts and desires of the group. The common ground that exists between all of us and which is outside each of us is in fact my Da'at. That's where I obtain the force of receiving and a force of bestowal. But most importantly, I reveal Keter, the creator there. Okay, so that is really the purpose of all of this, to reveal the creator. And this is why, for example, we have this special event coming up soon, and I'm inviting you all. It's the North America Annual KabU Retreat, September 6th through the 8th. It's in upstate New York, and it's really an opportunity to connect to those parts in us, those parts of our soul that some of which you experience through the chat here, but in a much more tangible way, and to really integrate with them in this kind of spiritual boot camp and make a spiritual leap. So it's retreat at KabuConnect.com. I'm inviting you all. I hope to see you there. And with that, we conclude, and we're going to a special broadcast now, where exclusive for KabU members, where I'm looking forward to answering all of your questions. Thank you for joining us. Have a great day.